Good to see you again. I'm Tomlin's Nyback. This is 365 Days Towards Racial Change. I'm glad you can come back and be with us. I, um, I was just using this uh, little project, personal project of mine is not exactly linear. I wanted to do one a day over a year, and it was quite ambitious. I did got pretty far, but now the days are all over the place. I had actually crossed into 2020 out of 2019, which is good because this year it's got some interesting things have happened. I talked yesterday a little bit about the government. I want to talk a little bit about the government again. January of 2020, I think it was, where we had another drone strike. This one was a little different. We waited till the guy was um, kind of in a vulnerable position, moving freely and all that, and we did our drone strike and took him out, and another apparently popular leader. Um, but you wonder about these drone strikes sometimes. You wonder about the government, and you see our leaders tripping over each other to justify the drone strike and everything. But so much, I feel like our government has is playing a game, and the game's called government. And like you pull a card, right? The president and his cabinet sit around, they're pulling cards, and you know, um, you get a potential terrorist or whatever. Oh, and then you roll the dice and see is it drone strike, sanctions. It's very so compartmentalized, and it's such a science now, and I don't picture them as individuals, group of individuals trying real hard to bring about some peace and some issues. Problem is for me, I don't know. I know what I'm told, but doesn't the slave respond to what he is told? I have no idea what's going on outside the borders. Yeah, 9/11 was pretty drastic, but I, I I've been on the planet for a while, and like you wonder who is perpetuating the cycle of violence, right? And have does the government or those in power occasionally just to stir the pot unnecessarily. I have no doubt the other side has its shortcomings and uh, issues with power. This problem with some other groups, they have religion and a mindset and all that. But capitalism is a religion. Our form of government is a religion. There's an allegiance. There's a flag. There's a way to think about this. We don't have a visible, necessarily a God, central God in America, but we do worship in our own way. Um, our, our our freedom, our use of resources at the expense of, right, to justify our existence, who we are, what we're doing on the planet. Um, it's disturbing. Whatever's going on, things get classified. Oh, what's classified? You're taking my money, and I'm just supposed to trust, right? Um, I, can I have a say in the decision? to all the billions and millions and trillions of dollars out there. Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of people. America has a target on it, but I don't know, it's enough. Like the decades that I've been on the earth, and we still fighting and struggling, and that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't understand why these conflicts don't resolve, or do we have to have all this going on all the time, and people appearing like they're doing uh, all this activity and whatnot. But that's what I wonder. But that's what I feel like sometimes about the government. Our government's playing a game called government. And, that I feel like if they do have regular briefings, we don't know because the president that hasn't even been in the where they used to do the press releases and stuff. I've been watching The West Wing. I like that show a lot, and they've done away with the press corps and all that. The president doesn't have that level of transparency. He did away with it. Too, I mean, but it was another one of those traditional things that came up out of somewhere to have regular press briefings. So I could see our president's a businessman, so I could see how he trims the fat and really shakes things up, right? But the point is, what I'm saying is like, what's classified? What's so secret? Right? We don't even know what's going on, what decisions are being made and stuff. They make decisions apart from the normal or what's been traditionally. Now it's a tradition. It used to be policy. It's no longer policy. It's tradition and stuff. It's all new precedents. But he's just altered that, and that's going. A lot of things are gone and altered for all eternity. That's the power group. That's absolute power, essentially white, and that's the way it is. What um, what can you do? Well, for black folks, we could first point of defense is to be aware, read some books, watch a video. I'm just recently starting to inject myself into different communities as best I can. I have some opportunities. There's some resources on the college campus where I'm at, and I'm just trying to make myself available while keeping my studies afloat. Because I live kind of a very isolated hermit life. That's by choice. I could totally be out running the streets, but just over the years, I've liked to bring it home. I can be with myself and not feel bonkers and crazy and stuff. So that's a plus. That's a plus. You don't have to be always out there. Um, Once, twice a month max, I'll be with friends doing an excursion or whatnot. But I don't run the streets like I'm in my mid-teens and early 20s and stuff like that. You can have that. But black folks to be aware, we can find some videos, read some books, the truth about us, because we live in the appearance of freedom and um, we live in such a way as it really looks like we're doing well. But I've just been through some recent stuff. Two employment, blue collar positions that have just left me bitter, disappointed, disillusioned. You know, younger white kids being promoted over more experienced black person. It's very overt. And yet the other plantation is disunified in its administration. So, one place says I'm hired and uh, I'm punching the clock and I'm showing up every day and all that. But another organization says I'm terminated and they've got a gate, so I can't get in the gate. I got to stand out in the cold and it's confusion. Yeah, man, it's rough out here. So, so I'm into getting some resources. Got to get some reciprocity, some positive feedback out here. Or I'm just not going to mess with you, is where I'm at. And black people need to come up and stand up and be sensitive to that and not be selling their souls to confusion and racism. Yeah, I hope I'm a minority and that I was just ignorant and had to be beat over the head with it to come away, come alive, be alive. And how's your financial freedom? Financial literacy? Read some books. Creature from Jekyll Island by a man named Griffin. Great book about really what works, what's going on in the Federal Reserve, what's supposed to happen with what does happen with money and all that. And don't be like me and wait till the gray is starting to overwhelm you and you've been messing up for decades of your life and um, have to scramble and have to really discipline the mind and the self to make some changes. I am inspired to do this work and make these videos by a man named Dr. Claud Anderson. He's a great writer. I hope to meet him someday. But he's got great books here. First book is a Black History Reader. 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. We are in this book and going through kind of a critique of integration, critique in the sense of um, researching the idea and being critical of the idea of integration. And I'm hoping that Dr. Anderson is much more eloquent with it than I am. But I agree with he's a dissenter of integration. And that's what we're going to talk about today and tomorrow. We touched on it yesterday as well. He also wrote Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice, kind of like in the vocational areas, and Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America. Powernomics. You can find Dr. Anderson at powernomics.com. Behind me, you'll see the hashtag #US2 symbol. It's black women coming together, having their community, resources, and supporting one another. Check out Black Enough, BLAGGENUF, kind of a black Facebook experience. Also, if you have a business mind, check out Dr. Boyce Watkins at the Black Business School, theblackbusinessschool.com, for if you have some needs, want to intersect about black business, black resources. I mean, in the end, it's the same for everybody. But if you're finding barriers and resistance, then go check it out. Like yesterday, I want to give you an illustration, my broken leg illustration. Look, if I break my leg, I'm going to get medical attention and I'm going to get resources. I'm going to have people from all walks of faith and races and all this stuff, whites, Hispanics, Japanese, and whatnot. Arabs are going to be glad to help me out, open doors, have an outpouring of the altruistic spirit towards me. That's all good and well. And the doctors are going to project the leg should heal over a few months and whatnot. I should be up walking. Now, if you come back a year later, 2 years later, 5 years later, and I'm still hobbling around and complaining and all helpless, and people are still opening doors and whatnot, you're going to think something's wrong. And you might be like, we need to stand off of this brother for a minute. Let him put some strength underneath himself and his legs so he can walk on his damn own. Walk his damn self. We're walking, we're participating, we're competing in the world. Why is he still talking about this leg? We're our this is the outside peripheral communities talking, saying our help, our engagement is not helping him to walk and stand on his own. That's a problem. We need to separate from him so he can get up and then we'll gladly compete. Well, kind of. Some people don't really want competition, but at least the person with the broken leg won't be a burden and a drain on the resources. I want you to keep that little story in mind as we go into this critique in both senses, as far as research, analysis, and uh, criticizing the idea of integration. And we're coming out of a Black History Reader, 101 questions you never thought to ask. So question 32 says, how was a 1954 school desegregation lawsuit switched from unequal funding to social integration? Story, in short, is that tensions were rising. It was coming to a head. Black people noticed the white schools were getting better funding, access to wealth and resources, where the black community was just getting some trickle down and maybe gifts at time. Anyway, they weren't. The schools were uh, quite different financially, you know, and the kind of books, um, the maintenance of buildings. I wouldn't say quality of teachers, uh, because I'm sure the black community had able black teachers, but I'm sure the teachers in the white community were probably paid better than black folks. So it was this demarcation along financial lines between the two groups in education, everywhere else as well, but our focus is education. And so it comes to court battles and all that. And the initial argument was like, we're not getting enough money. Our white counterparts are getting more money. Enter the NAACP, and so these people in NAACP, probably encouraged by other groups, goes kind of in this little backroom sequester, and they say, well, let's just integrate, right? And it doesn't seem so nice on the surface. Oh, let's integrate. We'll just bring the black kids over this way. And so we talked a little bit about that yesterday, how integration went from blacks had to come out of their neighborhoods to the whites. It was the disintegration, destruction of black educational infrastructure at that time, which is never quite recovered um, from that, and never recovered from the process, the paradigm where now white spaces, white schools were that's the only place you're going to get right stuff, right? And it's going to have emotional repercussions, mental repercussions, all this, where the black kids have to go and um, be bussed and moved around and jostled, upheaval in black lives, so to go integrate in white spaces, right? And pick up the conversation, education is the grassroots. It's where groups condition their future. They condition it. It's easy to have the continuation of group loyalty, right, and to engage in um, in loyalty and allegiance to the group. If there's if it's nice and continuous, where um, black kids see the strength of their community and um, are getting a better education, right? You know, where slavery and some of the negative aspects of American life are historical, but not a kind of cultural conditioning to press their minds into uh, to just have shock value. I remember, when I was in school, and the slavery education what was put upon us. They put that on you early in childhood. That after a certain, I know after a certain grade, I kind of it gets downplayed, and I kind of stop hearing about it because I'm already conditioned as a black person who's at a disadvantage in America, and this is why. Right? No solutions. They're not telling me to have a better sense of pride and stuff like that. I'm like the baby elephant, you know, tethered with a heavy chain at birth and my formative years, and the conditioning is such that to control me in my later years, all you need is a little thin rope, and you can guide me wherever you want. Because I'm conditioned to think that that's something on my wrist and whatnot is a chain, is heavy, it's inexorable, I can't conquer it, I can't be free of it. So now you can come with your little rope and guide me wherever you want. A perfect example. Immigration was a holocaust on black education, black communities. It was another opportunity to fight, get the wealth and resources. There's not enough of holding out for the wealth and resources, to have the sense of pride itself, to get the wealth and resources, equal pay, um, participation, competition, and all that. There's nothing different about black people except the color of our skin. That doesn't make us any different from our white counterparts. I've said it many times before. The skin color was the worst way for discrimination, but lazy white power group back then created the system, and the damn thing worked so well they just kept it going. And when education when it was becoming obvious that America was not being fair in its education, well, they didn't want to give wealth and resources. They just said, no, come on over here. Right? Like two boats on the ocean, right? And instead of the one boat, it's well equipped and it's stocked, and the other people are struggling and all that. Well, they say, no, we don't want to throw our cargo over to you. Y'all can come over here. We're still going to beat you up, discriminate against you, put barriers, and make sure you're not competitive. But you can come on over and spend time with us. The direction is always black going into white spaces, white control. One thing to address that, combat that, is for black people to get a hold of land, I haven't done enough on this, but I'm quite sure now. Black people need land. We need to have our own spaces again. We can put Tulsa, Oklahoma behind us, Rosewood, Washington, D.C., other places around America where our communities have been sacked and people have been raped and murdered and burned alive. Um, uh, Hopefully, we're behind that, where if a black community becomes self-sufficient and thriving and growing, hopefully jealous white folks won't come in and try to mess it up. But that's a key to black people turning the corner and having control again. We need to get our own land. Anyway, the NAACP came in with the integration uh, idea and talk. And people bought it and went that direction, and we missed the opportunity to corner the market on our own wealth of resources and whatnot. We cursed ourselves to being followers again, and even solidified because now it's our children are conditioned, and that's a tough sell when the child's mind is molded to feel as though um, white control is it. There's no other way out, sense of escape, right? And all it's where the white child, the black child is looking. Everything comes through white control, and it does not have to be the truth, but it's that conditioning has gone on, and it left the black community very susceptible. So the black folks are, feeling as though we're beholden to white folks to get us what we need. We're still it's that master slave, still hoping the white massa is going to do right by us, right? Um, it was interesting that there are a lot of black pushback, black and white pushback. The separatism was real, and both sides really, if I'm reading Dr. Anderson correctly, were okay being separate. Not a problem. If you look at some of these movies, look at the movie Rosewood, or any, you look at the history of any space where white mobs have come in and sacked black spaces and looted and robbed, murdered, and all that, burned alive. It was the separation. Success was over here, and success was over here. And now you see that in other communities. Hispanic communities have success in their community, and there's white success over here. Asian communities, Arab communities. Look at these communities. Yeah, they're doing well in their space, right? But it's only black folks being prevented from uh, uh, encouraging that kind of growth and behavior in their own exclusive space. Then you get a lot of pushback on that. Um, so both communities had a lot of pushback, yet the NAACP had its agents through the whole cross section of America, from boots on the ground in the communities to lobbyists in Washington with this great idea to integrate, get the black folks out of there and come to a hostile space for the education. I mean, I really got to commend those early black children that were there. I mean, you needed a National Guard to get the first handful of black kids into the schools safely. Wow, what a time. Notice the white folks didn't go to the black neighborhoods because they shut that all down. All that infrastructure, all that black educational infrastructure was eradicated. Put people out of jobs, all that. It dismantled all that. Jobs, buildings, qualified educators, all that. And now you get a transportation system going. Very sad. It's very sad commentary, right? On the surface, integration is what's so inclusive and it's so right and all that. But don't you see the person has still got the broken leg? They're not healed because people are carrying him around. And if I got a broken leg, it's never healed because everybody's still doing stuff for me, and I got to go be a part of it. I'm never standing on my own and competing effectively. I'm not participating in America's um, socioeconomic landscape as every other group does to a great degree. And I'm not saying that people don't have their issues, but America is so sad. On the surface, I mean, from the outside, wow, look at America, such a picture. But we got something against the women. We got something against gender. We got something against black people. The nation has um, killed off Native Americans back into almost obliteration, where they're almost non-existent, but they're coming back and they're having their time. Anti-Semitism still in the land. So come on, come on, America. We could do better. We could be a real country engaged in integration, altruism, and all that, but we're really not. And that's a sad thing. I'm over time. I'm not going to hold you hostage. We're going to do part 3 tomorrow and then get into some other topics as we make this run to this 365. But that's day 309 out of the way. Thanks for spending time with me. I'm Tomlin's Nyback. Please come back soon tomorrow. Hopefully I'll put up another one. And we will fellowship and have our time together again. Bye-bye.